Hey there. Hey, YouTube. I'm just looking at the wrong buttons and stuff, man. Okay, I got it right. 13 seconds. I want to talk more about the food for thought. The last video, I kind of want to continue it. And you never know, I talk about it till I understand it and remember it. That's the important thing, is to remember. But I was thinking about improving myself, and as long as we are living, it's always room for improvement. Nobody, well, for me, I never get it right all the time, and so that's what I'm working on, my thoughts. And I was thinking about a parable in the Bible. you know um, a lot of people think I'm not a Christian. I don't follow that religion. In fact, I don't follow any religion. Hoodoo, voodoo, I don't follow nothing. I just follow me, what my spirit tells me. But I still enjoy scriptures and words. I love books. I love writing, and so you might hear me quote things from the Bible. But as I was thinking about my thoughts and getting rid of the negative thoughts that I have, and planting positive thoughts, I thought about gardening, and thought about the scripture where Jesus used the parable, the sower who went out to sow and planted seeds on this ground that wasn't any good, and then another sower and planted seeds on good ground, and the seeds came up. But you can read that story. I think it's in Luke, the 8th chapter, I think. But anyway, that's what it tells. Jesus uses a lot of parables. And the parables are for people who don't understand. And the Bible is full of parables. So until we get the understanding, we do need parables. But a lot of times you gotta, to grow up in a fast track, you gotta let these parables go. You gotta tell it like it is. So I'm making myself learn it and remember it. I took an example in my mind of fertile ground. I used to garden when I was younger. Every year I'd have a garden. I had the spring and the fall garden. So I love gardening. But I do remember we had to prepare the soil. We had to till it up, get the weeds out and all the trash, and just really work the soil, put manure down, and even before you plant it. So thinking about that, our minds is like the soil, and you have to, I'm not going to say you, I have to pull up and rake up all those negative thoughts I had about people, about situations, about things in the past, what they did to me when I was little, and there's so many things I could pull in my past that really should have destroyed me. So when my mind goes back to that, I need to be able to laugh about it and say that was a lesson. So that's working the soul. And some things that happen, you have to actually throw it away. And when it's like pulling weeds from your soil. And you pull weeds and get the soil prepared. But the next day, even before you plant the seeds, you'll see some little sprouts of weeds coming back. So that means these negative thoughts will never go away. They have to be tended daily and pulled and plucked daily before you plant. And then when you plant, you have to tend the soil more so. I'm holding this phone in my hand. It's kind of getting tired. But after you plant the seed, you have to tend it and watch it. That's the way I would do my when they came up, my plants came up. Ooh, I'd be so excited. I would go out there early in the morning and just look at the little seed breaking through the dirt. Oh man. But I was on the lookout for those weeds, anything that could choke up my plant. And the plant began to grow and the leaves were getting bigger. But I had to watch out for these bugs that would come and eat up my plant. And the bugs, to me, they are the people who come in and attack you. They are, they may be energy vampires. They may be want you to do favors for them, and you do favors, and they're gonna destroy you. You have to be very, very careful about these invaders. That's what I call them. They'll come and destroy your seed, your plant. So you have to be careful and mindful on every hand about your thoughts, and even so, the people who come into your life that you entertain in your mind or entertain in your garden. I used to, I always talk about this dark place where I was, and it was a drug habit that I had back in the 90s, and it was bad, but it didn't I mean, I just never had to resort to the street or nothing. I always had money because I had my own business and didn't have to take a drug test. So, I was free and clear. So I thought. But I said this to say that I had to write my way out of that. And a lot of times your weed killer or whatever, sometimes you got to sprinkle a little sulfur to kill the bugs. But for me, writing was a way to kill those negative thoughts and get inside of my soul. I want to read you guys something about. I wrote this, and during my addiction, I used to write on a yellow piece of paper that this voodoo priest gave me. He did a reading and he gave me this yellow piece of paper, and it's a story about the yellow piece of paper. I'm not going to get in that. But I ended up writing notes to myself on these little, and I would tear the paper off and hide them in different books. I don't even know why I would do that, but these notes I would say, I love you, Mary, and put a date on it. I tell myself to keep going. And when I was writing this, I was high on crack, but I knew I had to write. And I would hide them in books, and sometime at my low point, I would go to these books, and these little yellow slips of paper would fall out. I'm going to read a portion of my book. This is the book, Going Home Another Way. Um, Let me get this phone right. Gee whiz. Let's read. It's on page 154. This is hard to write. I find myself sweating and getting nervous as I frantically search for the words to describe how I felt. I can remember the feeling, but I have to press deep in my memory and groan to find the right words. The power in the words will resurrect the demons I thought were buried deep in my past. I can remember the hollow space where there was no sound, which later becomes a very lonely prison that releases the imaginary bars only when enough time is served. For me, this seemed to be an eternity. At first, my nights were spent trying to seize and control the power of the white god. I wanted the feeling to last a long time, but like the thrill of a roller coaster ride, it lasted only for a moment, leaving me in awe, totally aware the ride was over, frustrated and wanting to experience the thrill again and again. But the ride held me captive in the seat for at least 15 minutes, unable to speak or think clearly. Many times I would hit the pipe before the 15 minutes were up. Boy, that was really, that took me back. This would make my blood pressure and body temperature rise. All I wanted to do was feel the same high over and over. I couldn't put the pipe down. God, I feel so sick. How did I let this happen to me? I can't write another word. I've said enough to purge myself, and then I'll sleep. I was actually writing this one night on the computer. Oh, the spirit was on me so heavy. I wrote this on the computer. And when I said I'll purge myself and go to sleep, I just gagged and had to run to the bathroom because I vomited. But I left what I wrote, my whole diary, on the computer. And that next morning, my son found it. And, I told you a story about what he said. He was saying, Mama, this is a book. I know you're on drugs, but I didn't know it's nothing like this. And that's how that book began. But the process of writing, I didn't know I was writing a book. I was just writing, trying to figure out how to get out of this thing and how to heal myself. But we're talking about food for thought. And sometimes we think and it happens. And I think everything starts with the thought. We think it and it happens. But we think and then it can become a word. Because the Bible says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. So when we think, it becomes a word. It can become a word. And then even when you write, that word becomes permanent. Because if I hadn't written those words, I would never remember that feeling that I had. But those words brought those feelings to life. And even now, when I get to feeling bad, it's not that I'm feeling urge to go do drugs again. I'm feeling like I'm lost and how did this happen to me? When you get in a crazy state and you just say, what did I do? And you have to write. So right now, I'm writing my way out of a situation that I was just in recently. And it helps, but it's gonna be a journey. And that's the way I clear my mind and give myself food for thought. But whatever way, you have to do it. If it's writing, and I don't know. Oh man, they said the pen is mightier than the sword, because a lot of times people say, well, I'm just venting, I got to get this off my chest, blah blah blah. But that's the sword when you have to vent. And sometimes it's good to let people know how you feel, but I try not to be angry and hang the phone up in people's face. But you do what you have to do in the moment. But for me, writing is better, and you just don't have to talk to people that stir up that negative vibe in you. But I'm gonna continue some lessons in this, and this is for me and whoever else want to think about the thoughts, food for thought, because we are thought, and we need to feed ourselves with positive thinking. Okay, I'm gonna let y'all go. I'll see you next time. Bye. Yeah, I hope I